1984 marked LA's second attempt at hosting the Olympic Games. But this wasn't just any Olympics. For the first time in history, it actually turned a profit, a feat that no other host city has matched since. So how did LA pull off this remarkable achievement? And what lessons from 1984 are being applied as Los Angeles prepares to host the 2028 Games? Today we dive into the past and explore how the City of Angels plans to once again use its existing infrastructure to turn the Olympics into a winning formula. The Olympics are often hailed as the pinnacle of international sports, but for many host cities, the financial aftermath is less than golden. The costs associated with hosting the Olympics have skyrocketed over the years, leading a legacy of debt and economic challenges that many cities struggle to overcome. A prime example is the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, which were delayed until 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This postponement alone added an estimated $3 billion to the overall costs. And on top of this, with empty stadiums and restricted tourism, Japan's economy took a hit of approximately $1.3 billion. While the pandemic exacerbated these issues, it wasn't the sole cause of financial trouble. The truth is, Olympic Games have been financially challenging for decades. Research from Oxford reveals that since 1960, not a single Olympic Games has stayed within its original budget. On average, costs exceed estimates by 172%, making the Olympics one of the most financially risky mega projects. The 2012 London Summer Games, for instance, started off with a budget of $5 billion, but ultimately cost $18 billion. The 2014 Sochi Winter Games, the most expensive in history, saw costs explode from $10.3 billion to over $51 billion. But the financial strain doesn't end with budget overruns. Generating enough revenue to cover these enormous expenses is another significant challenge. Beijing, for example, spent $40 billion on the 2008 Olympics but earned only $3.6 billion in return. London's 2012 Games saw $18 billion in spending and just $5.2 billion in revenue. Beyond the immediate costs and revenues, the long-term economic benefits promised by Olympic organizers often fail to materialize. While host cities are assured of job creation and tourism boosts, these benefits are frequently overstated. Many of the jobs created are temporary, and the anticipated surge in tourism doesn't always pan out. In fact, tourism can actually decline from averages in the years following the Olympics. Additionally, the infrastructure improvements that are supposed to be lasting legacies often become financial burdens due to the high cost of maintenance, especially for facilities built for niche sports that see little use after the games. And this is where Los Angeles comes in. The 1984 Summer Olympics in LA result in a $200+ million operating surplus, an outcome almost unheard of in modern Olympic history. LA minimized costs by using existing venues and securing key corporate sponsorships. This approach led to the financial success and aimed to set a new standard for hosting the Olympics. And many believe LA's success in 1984 is a key reason for why the city is well prepared for the 2028 Games. With existing infrastructure and a history of successful hosting, LA doesn't need to build much to ensure another potentially profitable and well-run event. LA organizers say they can host the 2028 Games with a budget of $6.88 billion. Will they be able to stay true to it? Probably not, but there are some compelling reasons to think why they may be close. Generally, building up Olympic-specific infrastructure like stadiums can swallow up nearly half of the entire budget, if not more. But LA's existing sports infrastructure is second to none and will play a crucial role. Here's the plan as of 2024. Crypto.com Arena in downtown LA, home to the Lakers, Kings, and Sparks, will host gymnastics events. SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, the home of the Rams and Chargers, will be the venue for swimming. It's expected to hold 38,000 spectators, which would make it the largest swimming venue in Olympic history. The Intuit Dome, the soon-to-be-completed Los Angeles Clippers Arena, will host all basketball events. Track and field competitions will take place at LA Memorial Coliseum, which is the only stadium to host these events in 3 different Olympics. Parts of the opening and closing ceremonies will be held at both the Coliseum and SoFi Stadium. Diving will be held at the John C. Argue Swim Stadium, which also hosted aquatic events for the 1932 Olympics. Archery, BMX racing, freestyle cycling, and skateboarding will take place at the Sepulveda Basin Recreation Center, while the Long Beach Sports Park will host other swimming events. And lastly, equestrian events will be held at the Galway Downs in Temecula. As a side note, canoe slalom and softball events will be held in Oklahoma City, where existing venues can meet the demand. But the real major cost where the city may run into the most issues is in upgrading the transportation infrastructure. The 28 by 28 initiative, launched by former LA mayor, aims to complete 28 infrastructure projects in Los Angeles before the 2028 Olympics. Many of these projects were already planned, but are now being fast-tracked. In 2024, Mayor Karen Bass announced the goal of making the Olympics car-free by promoting public transit and remote work to reduce congestion. Although, as everyone watching this probably realizes, the Olympics will be far from car-free. Because if there's one thing that LA knows, it's that cars and traffic are as much a part of the city as palm trees and sunshine. Funding for these transit projects come from Measure R&M, tax increases approved by voters in 2008 and 2016, supposedly completely unrelated to the Olympics. To meet the demand of the games, LA28 organizers estimate an additional 2,700 buses will be needed, doubling Metro's current fleet. Metro is seeking federal grants and planning to resell the buses post-Olympics to offset costs, which are estimated between $700 million and $1 billion. Given all of these costs, it's very important that the organizers for the LA28 Olympics try their absolute best to generate as much revenue as possible. But who is actually in charge of running the show? The LA28 Games are independently operated by a privately funded non-profit organization, spearheaded by Casey Wasserman. Globally, the International Olympic Committee, a Swiss-based non-profit, oversees every aspect of the Olympics, no matter where they're held. Broadcasting rights are usually the largest source of revenue for the Olympic Games. This money comes from selling the rights to televise the Games to broadcasters around the world. Networks like NBC in the US pay billions for exclusive rights, as the Olympics attract massive global viewership. For the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, it's estimated that broadcasting rights accounted for nearly 73% of total revenue. Corporate sponsorships are the second largest revenue stream. This includes money from both the global Olympic sponsors and domestic sponsors specific to the host country. Revenue from ticket sales is significant, but tends to be smaller than broadcasting and sponsorships. This would include tickets to various events, opening and closing ceremonies, and other Olympic-related activities. Outside of this, a smaller portion of the revenue can come from things like licensing and merchandise, as well as grants and donations. And just in case of major issues like natural disasters or even poor turnout, the LA28 group will purchase significant insurance packages. All of this with the goal of minimizing the negative financial effects on LA and the rest of the US. After the Los Angeles 1984 Olympics were completed, the $200+ million of surplus money was funneled into the LA84 Foundation. This foundation was set up to assist youth sports programs in the area, and has supposedly been doing so for the past few decades. While LA does have a significant sports infrastructure advantage, it remains to be seen if the 28 Olympics can be profitable or even close to profitable. Hopefully the events will have little to no effect on taxpayers, but that may be wishful thinking. I really appreciate you watching the video and ask that you please provide some feedback via the Google Forms link in the description to help me improve future videos. It's pretty crazy to think that the channel is closing in on 10,000 subscribers when it was barely past 1,000 at the beginning of the year. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.